Next item, 6, public hearing.
I just wanted to add, the Valley Regional Fire Authority at the last board meeting accepted a grant for almost $300,000, $294,236 from FEMA, from their Assistance to Firefighters. It's called the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, and what this does is it helps to upgrade our existing old portable radios to 800 megahertz, and they'll be compatible with the 700 megahertz system once it becomes operational. So.
Thank you. You're the finance. You were involved in that.
Councilmember Walker, any chance we take possession of all of those?
I'll have to ask. I would guess that Auburn might fight us for that one.
Aren't we due for?
We just got an engine. We're not due for another like 8 years.
For the radios we use at that station, we should take possession.
Oh,
Thank you.
you're channeling
No
back to
dying
that.
involved.
Yes, I am. I'm trying to channel plan. Get that back.
Okay, next item is public hearing. Old business. Amend the Pacific Municipal Code reference to business and occupation tax and administration provisions. This is the second reading, and now it's up for adoption. Do I hear a motion?
Gary, I think this is yours.
Move to approve ordinance 2013-1844, amending the Pacific Municipal Code, B&O tax, and administrative provisions for business and occupation tax.
Who's taking the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Chair recognizes the maker of the motion to speak on the issue.
This is basically a housekeeping measure to bring us into conformance with current state code on B&O tax around technology items, privacy protections, and various administrative functions of the tax code.
The chair recognizes second to the motion to speak. Housing.
I have nothing to say, it's just housekeeping.
Any debate by the council? Any comments from the audience? It has been moved and second. Amending the Pacific Municipal Code reference to business occupation tax and administrative provision for adoption. Roll call of council.
Gary Holty,
Aye.
John Jones,
Aye.
Leanne Dyer, James McMahon,
Aye.
Josh Putnam,
Aye.
Fred Walker.
Aye.
Motion passed. New business. The Yates Property Utility Bill Resolution Number 2013-030. Summary. The customer attended this council meeting on March 11, 2013 and requested a waiver of penalties and late fees. It was brought to the council at the workshop on March the 18th and discussed. The staff recommended waiving the penalties, excluding any lien fees on the condition that the bill is paid in full within a specified time period of 30 to 45 days. Recommended. The waiver of fees could not occur until the payment was made, and if not paid within the time frame, the account becomes due in full without recourse to the property owner. Council requested a timeline on the recent purchase of this property. Yates property is currently owned by C&H Investors. The property changed hands in June 2012. We started the lien process in December 2012, and the lien was filed in January 2013. No payments have been made to this account since the change in ownership. Recommendation, motion of consideration, move to adopt resolution number 2013-030, authorizing the waiver of utility bills penalties for the property located at 429 Milwaukee Boulevard South. For the budget, it will be a write-off of $254.04 in penalty. Do I hear a motion to approve by the council?
Move to approve resolution 2013-030.
Do I hear a second motion to approve?
Move. Seconded.
It has been moved and seconded. The chairman recognizes the maker of the motion to speak to the issue.
Typically, penalties and fees are used to convince the existing account holder to pay timely. When we've got a new property owner who was not the one that fell behind on the bills, the penalties and fees we've previously waived because they're not the ones who ran up the overdue bill. I'm somewhat surprised that this changed hands back in June and it's taken this long, but if we didn't start our lien process until December, it does seem plausible that they would not have been aware of an overdue bill in the name of the previous owner.
The chair recognizes the second to the motion to speak on the issue.
My point on this is that if it wasn't in fact our responsibility for making this charge, a claim against them earlier in the time frame that we're talking about, I would not be voting for this. But considering that we are at equal amount of failure on our part to have identified this and put the lien earlier on, I'll probably vote for it.
Debate, right?
I'd like to thank staff for putting together that timeline because that is an important factor, at least in mine. It sounds like Councilmember Jones' decision-making process. I still have a little bit of a heartburn with waiving penalties because I think due diligence by any potential purchaser of property, you look at this kind of stuff. It's a little bit more difficult if there isn't a lien. In this case, we filed a lien on the property 6 months after it changed ownership. That's close enough to that I think some grace is appropriate here, but it's still a heartburner for me. But that's the part that did it. The fact that we filed a lien on their property 6 months after they bought it for the previous owner and stuff. So I think I'll vote yes tonight for a change. Trent, vote yes. So.
Okay. Any other council comment? Comment from the audience? Chair will state the motion. Motion for consideration to move and adopt resolution 2013-030, authorizing the waiver of utility bills penalties for the property located at 429 Milwaukee Boulevard South. Roll call, council.
Gary Holton.
Aye.
John Jones.
Aye.
Leanne Dyer. Aye. James McMahon.
Aye.
Josh Putnam.
Aye.
Ken Walker.
Aye.
Agenda item 8B.
Been passed.
Oh, I'm sorry, major fact. Agenda item 8B, the subject is Lloyd.
We removed it from the agenda.
What? Oh, yeah, we removed that from the agenda. Okay. We're going to go into executive session now.
I prefer, the attorney will tell me if this is the wrong process. I prefer that council be presented with the information and be able to ask questions, and then we go to executive session to discuss qualifications. Is that appropriate? That we have the information before we discuss it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
This is a confirmation of the vote. Going to answer any
No, we want you to present your candidate, and then we'll go to executive session to discuss the qualifications.
Well, I can read what's my candidate instead of her standing up.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
all
whatever.
know her. I'll just read.
However way you want to present.
I prefer that she doesn't stand and face the console. I'll just read what is written down as a summary. This is to advise the council of my appointment of Sandy Paul to serve temporarily as city clerk for the city of Pacific while we go through the hiring process. The advertisement has already gone out, and the closing date advertised is March 31st, 2013. Ms. Paul comes to the city highly qualified. Having served the city in this capacity in the past, and having served the city of Des Moines for the past 3 years, she has obtained the designation of Master Municipal Clerk for the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, and that is an achievement. This designation requires a high degree of commitment to the profession, long hours of study, and years of experience. This she has shown to me over the short period that she has been here, and I commend her for it. Ms. Paul is currently retired. It is anticipated that this temporary appointment will be of short duration, as the closing date for application is the end of March. So make it understood that she's here only for a short duration to carry us through our shortcomings. However, I would appreciate at least a 3-month term to provide plenty of time to process and research the application for potentially advertise for a second time, if necessary. This is a very valid approach, and I ask the council to please consider it. Because the last time we had only 2 applicants, and we had to choose one of the 2. This time, I hope that we have possibly more than 2, so that we have some elbow room to select the candidate. The last time we didn't. The position of the city clerk, which Ms. Paul is holding down at the present time, temporarily, is a key position And it is vitally important that she remain as a temporary city clerk. She is not only highly qualified, but she is adapted, fit, energetic, and very helpful for the city. And I believe we need her for current administration problems. I recommend the council to confirm the appointment of Ms. Paul, who is a highly qualified city clerk for a temporary basis. Now, this is all I have to say before we move into an executive session.
Scott, don't we get to talk to her? We have the right to communicate, talk, ask questions
Right.
with her, not you, but with her. This is,
Well, I already said,
that's your statement, but it's not her statement, and it's not us asking her questions related to her qualifications and the job.
I remember when I first appointed Leanne, what's her name? She stood up and the council embarrassed her. She cried.
That's
She
a
went
lie.
home.
There's nobody you brought up
This
here.
is going, wait,
No,
I'm
you're-
speaking. If this
you're
is
lying.
gonna happen,
Point of
I'm
order.
gonna stop it. Sandy, would you please take the stand, please?
I'm not appropriately dressed for this. I did not expect this was going to happen.
Sandy, this is Paul. One of the things that we don't have right now is your resume. I know that the mayor has explained to us that you have qualifications, and I know you have qualifications, but a resume has not been presented to the council for consideration of your qualifications, as well as I have seen no contractual language in relationship to your job application with the city. Can you enlighten us into your qualifications, first off?
I am very capable at being a city clerk. Let me just say to start, before I address my resume, I feel an energy when I'm here, an energy with staff. I feel an energy with council, at least with President Geyer. We had a very nice discussion last week. And I really would like the opportunity to give it a shot. You need somebody like me, if not me. I did complete my MMC certification in 2012. That means that I have attended an awful lot of classes to improve on what I do. Learning is a lifelong process, and it's not something that I'm going to stop doing just because I have the ultimate certification. Because things in this profession change so fast. Public records, laws, everything. It just changes so quickly. If you're not out there on the forefront, let's put it like this. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. That isn't a good place to be. I think I proved myself when I was here before. I only went on to further distinguish myself in the city of Des Moines. I'm also working part-time for the Des Moines Pool Metropolitan Park District as their district clerk. In that capacity, I even have financial duties added to my job. I can't think of anything more. Would you like to ask more specific questions?
How many years, city clerk at Pacific and Des Moines?
I've had the city clerk title since 2004. I have worked with councils and in city government for 22 years.
I object to the question because I answered the question as already.
You object to what question?
To the question of how many years that she was at Des Moines and the city of Pacific.
On what grounds do you object to my questioning her that?
Objection sustained.
You're not a judge, you don't get the rule. So, anyway, all I wanted was a clarification from you with your qualifications. Okay, that's what I was
Should
asking.
I answer your question? Okay, I have 22 years of government experience. 8 of that is with the title of city clerk. But many years before that, I did all those same duties, I just didn't have the title.
I didn't do
So is the intention to have her take over duties for personnel manager as well in this interim role?
that. Yes.
Okay. So can you describe your experience with personnel matters the last time you worked with Pacific and then anything you've done since then?
Well, I wasn't a personnel manager when I went to Des Moines. I tried to help, and they didn't want my help, so fine, I had one less thing to do. And personnel had not been my strong suit when I first came here, but I went out and I made sure that I knew what I needed to know to at least get started. I found myself a network that was in a similar situation that I was, with a similar sized city, a city clerk personnel manager job description, and there were a group of 6 of us. And when we ever had a problem, we would contact each other and we'd brainstorm solutions. And I have never made a decision in this city or any other on my own without consulting with my advisors, whom I consider to be the staff and the council.
I'd like to make I'd like to augment her statement. In the short time she was here, we talked about personnel management, and she had some excellent ideas and some excellent suggestions, and which I've never had. And I appreciate that. So therefore, that's the reason why I cancel a union meeting with the personnel because she was not here. That's how important I think that she should be a player into the meeting, because she has some excellent knowledge and some good suggestions to carry the city through a meeting with the union concerning an employee.
So I have a follow-up question, and I don't know if it's appropriate, so feel free to call point of order on me at any time, especially you, James.
Oh, good. He said he might ask an inappropriate question.
So we've been through this already once with Patty, and I've heard similar answers, not from you, Sandy, because I think we work together a lot. So who's to say that this won't turn out in a similar way? You were very trusting of Patty at the time, or previous candidates at the time. Hold on. And I want to make sure that...
I'm sorry, point of order.
Your point of order.
Can I make it first before you?
Go ahead.
You can roll on it first, whatever.
My point is that I'm not certain that, I think I know where your question's headed, or at least where it's gone this far. I'm not sure that relates to Ms. Paul's qualifications.
Right.
I mean, maybe the city attorney might have a different point of view.
I totally agree. It should be limited to this candidate, not the history of the city.
Okay.
Okay.
You were going to shut me down, too. Okay.
Given the various issues we've had in the city, can you address a time in the past where you've had to deal with direction either from council or from a mayor that you thought violated the principles of your position and how you dealt with that?
My job is to support the mayor, first and foremost. And I'm very good at swallowing my own pride and trying to couch what it is I'm asked to do in as legal a format as I can, because I do refuse to do anything illegal.
Does that answer your question?
So I have a couple of questions more about kind of integration within the city. The first one is, I recall from your memo or letter to the council that was presented last week during the workshop, that you said in the memo, among other things, that you intended to be a candidate for the advertised, what I'll call permanent position. And you also referenced how many applicants had already come in with that. And so part of me is a little troubled about somebody who has, at least at some level, taken on the personnel manager role and then is also a candidate for that. I mean, there's kind of a three-way tie and they all loop together. Can you make me feel better about that?
Absolutely. It would be totally inappropriate for me to make that judgment this time. It would have to be done by others.
And is that something that you've already been involved in?
With this? No. I asked how many applications there were, and I was told one. That's the extent of my involvement.
Okay. And then, go ahead.
Can I interrupt you for a minute? I was a culprit in that too, because I was so impressed with the way she came in and handled things, and the way she communicated and let me know what everything that's happening. I was right on this. The first time since I've been a mayor, I was right on top of everything that goes through and between the clerk. So I, in my way, encourage her. Why don't you put in an application? Because I think that she's an asset, and if she can make up her mind for a full-time clerk, I think we've got somebody that will carry us through the problems that we had. That's the way I felt, so it's part of my influence on her to put in an application. After all, this is a free country. She can do it anytime she wants. Thank you.
I have one more question. And that's on I see here in the staff report, the agreed upon salary, and the part that catches my attention, I'm assuming the salary is within the established salary range. The part that catches my attention is that without medical, dental, vision, retirement, or accrued vacation or sick leave. And I won't assume that in your short time you've had an opportunity to review all of our policies, particularly about that part. But if my memory is correct, I'm not sure that on full-time positions that we can negotiate those out. It sounds like we've got a couple of hands, and so I'll finish my question. Hopefully, I'll get answered. On the benefits part, I think our PNC, my recollection is pretty clear. On the retirement part, I'm not sure that's a voluntary opt-in or out per state regulation.
Okay. I'd like to answer the question if I may, because that's within my, okay, go ahead.
Because it's an interim position, it's not required to provide those benefits because she's retired, that's one. She doesn't qualify for the retirement, she'll have to opt out of her current retirement that she's getting if she goes to a full-time position. She can work 868 hours, I think it is, before she's entitled to retirement. The previous situation you had with someone who was opted out of retirement, was not involved in the the Washington state retirement, did not have that exception. And if she were to go, or anyone else were to be hired as a full-time permanent position, they have to be in retirement.
So what would,
Unless the state retirement has an exemption for them, similar to what Mr. Paulson has.
so it sounds like what makes it possible in this circumstance is the temporary nature of the appointment?
That's the only way it's possible.
Okay.
Jerry?
If she does become permanent, then would that be retroactive? Betty?
Oh, you can't hear me that. No. It would take effect when she takes the permanent position. If that happens, that's when it would take effect.
Well, I'd like to throw in my call. When it comes to a permanent position, if I can hire them for $1 an hour, I would. If they go one for $1.15 an hour, I think I've got an argument. That's the way I feel. That's the reason why I didn't mention the agreed salary. Because I felt still yet before, after you people, after the council approve, I think I'd like to sit down with her and negotiate the salary, because I feel this way, it's tentative. All right? Can I do that?
No, you're telling us.
Huh?
No, you can't.
I can.
No. We cannot. This is
what you brought forward. It's already been offered,
How
you
come?
can't change your mind.
How come you didn't come to me and say maybe $1,000 $100 a month?
Because I knew better.
Okay, you snuck by me. Okay.
If I may, the salary is set in code when we adopt the budget. It's not a negotiated item.
I know that, but I still try to get it much more cheap.
You just said you throw in the towel, does that mean you quit?
You said you'd throw in the towel, does that mean quit?
Okay, I quit.
Let's quit for the night.
Seriously?
Are you serious? Somebody write it up.
Any
Write it
other
up.
questions?
It's recorded.
Directed to,
Which one?
Paul? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to make it a matter of public record that you said he quit.
Well, what have we done?
So I move the council recess to executive session for approximately 10 minutes to discuss qualifications for an appointment for public office with expected action following. Did I get that right?
Motion, Brian.